Travel along, Catholic pilgrims, as we read letters from the voyages of St. Frances Cabrini as she traveled around the Western Hemisphere sharing the good news of Christ. Welcome back, Catholic pilgrims. So today we will read part 2 of our last letter. Mother Cabrini is filling in the students at the Teachers College in Rome about all that she has been up to, and man, was she traveling a lot. This is a really interesting read, and for most of us, we will know a lot of the places that she's talking about. That is, if we've traveled much around the U.S., specifically the Western U.S. Without saying much more, let's go ahead and get started. We will begin on page 328 at the first full paragraph and end on page 335 at the end of the second paragraph. So let's go ahead and begin. Having left the large manufacturing city of Trinidad, the train enters the heart of the mountain district. As the locomotive ascends slowly, we are able to admire the beauty of the landscape. Every minute the view changes. We behold austere mountains whose summits are whitened with shining snow, hills quite green with pine trees and reddened by the colors of the rock and soil, sharp peaks which seem to touch the sky and on which the eagle alone rests, plateaus where the hardy goat, back from his mountain excursions, comes to browse upon the green grass in which they are so rich, and where the slow ox and the proud buffalo pasture together quite unconscious that in the neighboring glen the howl of the white bear resounds. Here and there silver streams descend among the rocks and soon become threatening torrents which, in rapids and waterfalls, follow their beds of many-colored rocks. The name Colorado was never better applied than to this enchanting country, to these most beautiful natural parks, where the hand of man could never add greater beauty than that with which nature has enriched it. In truth, here one exclaims spontaneously, "How wonderful is God in his works!" But meanwhile we have begun to descend the western slope, and turning with a rapid run towards the Pacific, have crossed the frontier of New Mexico. This country is most interesting. Here the Indians still live in their pueblos, little villages constructed like fortresses on steep and almost inaccessible mountains. It may indeed be said that the rock itself forms 3 sides of the house. The front is hermetically sealed, having neither door nor window, so that only by means of a ladder and an opening in the roof can one descend into their little houses. It seems that these Indians of New Mexico, unlike the other more savage and hunt-loving tribes, are a temperate, frugal, industrious race and devoted to agriculture. It is with the object of safeguarding their provisions and the fruits of their labor from the rapacity of their neighbors that their pueblos are built like regular fortresses. Looking out of the carriage of the train, I saw these poor Indians sitting before their hovels in their picturesque costumes, making small baskets, at which industry they are very clever. When I arrived at Albuquerque, the metropolis of the valley of Rio Grande, I was able to approach them, as they were arranged in double line under the arches of the station, offering to travelers the products of their industry. Some were selling terracotta vases, daisy works, and boxes cleverly constructed, while others contented themselves with offering garments, topaz of various colors, and other little stones found in the Mexican deserts. The interior of the station contains a beautiful collection of Indian art, and the cleverest of the Indian people weave the famous Navajo blankets. The Indian races are very numerous and varied. Some of them show an erect forehead and aquiline nose, with a proud intelligence shining over their countenance, whilst the penetrating eye reveals the hardiness proper to their race, not to mention their nobility and kindness of heart. Other Indian tribes are much inferior to these, and their faces denote an almost stupid dullness. The women especially seem very fond of painting their faces in various colors in such a way as to resemble tattooing. Many and various are their costumes, which I will not attempt to describe because the illustration which I shall bring back with me will give you a better idea of them than my own description could. Just as I got off the train, some Mexicans and a few Indians crowded around us, delighted at seeing the sisters. The Indians, more timid than the others, came forward gradually, offering me their little works. Attracted by the shining cross, they asked to be allowed to kiss it. While satisfying this innocent desire of theirs, I thought, how many among these uncivilized peoples do not yet know God, and are sunk in the darkest idolatry, superstition, and ignorance, without anyone to do them a little good, and all for want of missionary workers. Oh, how the heart of the missionary suffers when, kindled with zeal for the glory of God and the salvation of souls, she feels her very forces paralyzed by her powerlessness to enter into every place where the interests of God call her. These poor souls in the meantime fix their eyes curiously on one and seem to say in their mute languages, "Why do you not come and bring the light of your faith amongst us? O generous and Christian souls, why do you not listen to the call of these distant brothers of yours? You do not lack courage, energy, intelligence, or heart. Why leave hidden and buried so many beautiful gifts with which the Lord has endowed you, and not employ them rather for the benefit of those who do not know the true God? Why do you not reflect that these talents of yours, employed in the service of the Lord, will produce immense merit on earth and glory in heaven?" Thus spoke the poor Indians of Albuquerque to my heart. These Indians represent to me the numerous and scattered tribes of the west of the United States, and a keen feeling of regret makes my heart bleed at not being able now, through lack of assistance, to remain amongst them and to apply myself to their spiritual and intellectual culture. The missionary sisters of the Sacred Heart, who work day and night in the United States, already number more than 400, but they are, however, only as a little blade of corn in a limitless field. Oh, may the Sacred Heart grant that, for his greater glory and for the salvation of souls redeemed by him, many generous souls may come forward and enroll themselves in our ranks under the banner of the Sacred Heart. There is room for everybody, for every activity, for every talent, and for every inclination. She who consecrates herself to Jesus as a missionary sister, willing to carry his name even to the utmost ends of the earth, sacrificing her dearest affection and even life itself, is a true heroine in whose heart the flame of love burns brightly. She does not stifle her own heart, nor put under a bushel the shining light of intelligence with which God has endowed her. On the contrary, the flame kindled in her heart becomes a regular volcano of love that embraces everything. That gleam of light becomes a brilliant torch, causing darkness to disappear and erring souls to find their way. Happy the one who, at the tribunal of God, will be able to present herself, followed by a great number of souls saved through her. The voice of God calls many, but not all listen to him. For this reason, very often we sorrow at seeing a great harvest lost for want of workers. You, my good daughters, in your great mission of education are the first cooperators in the missionary works of the Sacred Heart, and for this reason you are especially dear to my heart and the great family which Jesus has given me. I expect much from you. Not only your native country and religion hope for great things from you, but all the world. To be a missionary, it is not necessary to go all over the world. The faculty of transport and means of immigration today enable men to pass from one country to another with the same amount of ease as that with which they go out of their house into the garden. Every year, we see thousands and thousands of our countrymen landing here. We see them in constant contact with irreligious and godless people. If every child that is entrusted to us in our schools is brought up in the fear of God, if we, moreover, train the little mind, we thereby educate the heart and instill into that child the principles of religion and honesty in such a manner that he will grow up a good Christian citizen. Is it not likely also that this pupil of ours may in turn become a teacher himself and prove much more efficacious in his teaching, because familiar exhortations may often strike the mind more readily than sterile and academic instructions? The teacher who educates her pupils in the way I have indicated sows the mustard seed abundantly. This seed, according to the words of our Divine Master himself, will grow to a great height, and the missionary will never know in this life how much fruit it will have produced unto eternity. my good daughters, may your school be not only a school of literature, science, mathematics, and history, but also of virtue, solid Christian morality, and you will have rendered a great service not only to religion, but also to your country. Moreover, you will greatly contribute to make our country honored and respected by all other nations. Now we have left New Mexico and have entered Arizona, or, to speak more accurately, the desert. Really, the deserts of Arizona are not at all what we should have imagined them to be from their name. They are neither monotonous nor without life. They are immense territories intersected by chains of mountains, profound abysses, extinguished volcanoes, various colored peaks and mounts or gigantic forms, so varied that with a little stretch of the imagination they seem at one moment like castles with turrets and towers of defense, while at other times they look like colossal monuments adorned with an infinite number of columns and marvelous sculptures. The sands of the desert have already proved to be fertile soil for whatever the cultivator may desire to produce, i.e., if he has the courage to dig wells in dry sands and sow vegetables and plant fruit trees. The great heat of the country enables the producer to gather his products in the winter when they are dear. We are approaching California, the land of the giant in the vegetable kingdom, where the yuccas and shrubs and herbs assume colossal proportions. Here, the cactus, which is called Cereus giganteus, reaches a height of 60 feet. But the greatest attraction of this desert consists in the petrified forest and what is called the Grand Canyon of Arizona, which is a tract of about 1,000 square acres, which probably flourished on the shores of an interior sea, and in the evolution of time became submerged by the waters and is now covered by the sands of the desert. Here we find, lying on the ground or springing up from the sands, innumerable trunks of petrified trees of different dimensions, some of them extending to 10 feet in diameter. They seem to have been pines or cedars. Water has gradually filled up the cells with flints, manganese, and oxide of iron mixed with other such substances, which have given them such beautiful tints as to elicit the worn admiration of the traveler. Under the action of the heat or cold, these trunks have become fractured, so that they present the appearance of having been sawn by the hand of man into enormous discs. In their natural state, these masses of wood do not possess very brilliant colors, but when they are skillfully worked, they justify the name of jewel forest, an appellation given to this wood because every particle of these trees can be and has been transformed into chalcedony, agate, amethyst, topaz, etc. One of these trees, to which I am referring, with its trunk still intact, has fallen across a chasm 40 feet wide, so that it forms a kind of bridge. Its top and root are buried in the sand, which fact gives you an idea of its height. You will surely be curious to see a specimen of this beautifully petrified wood, and to satisfy your curiosity, I will bring a piece of it on my return. From this wonder we pass to another still greater, one which up to the present moment no one has been able to describe, the Grand Canyon of Arizona. So I shall not even try to make you realize the beauties of it when gifted writers have found their task superior to their ability. The word canyon, from the Spanish, is used here often to indicate the gigantic gorges, mountains, and precipices, call them what you wish, which the immense rivers of these countries have excavated in the course of centuries in these titanic regions. The Grand Canyon is an intricate system of canyons, more than 600 feet in depth, 125 miles in width, and 180 miles in length. Anyone venturesome enough to look over the edge of the canyon would imagine he was on the top of a very high mountain, instead of on the edge of a profound abyss, having regard to the stupendous panorama which is spread before him. It is a labyrinth of immense architectural forms, infinitely varied in design. There is no reason to envy the pyramids of Egypt or the majestic mausoleums of the pharaohs, decorated as they are with the most curious ornaments, when nature can produce these marvels, resembling sometimes lace or veil, and giving at other times a vision of festoons hanging from the rocks, painted in a great variety of colors, such as the hand that holds the palette can produce. Diaphanous tints of marvelous delicacy are also to be seen. The highest mountains which dominate this abyss change their color according to the hour of the day, so that the rubies you see now change themselves later into emeralds, while afterwards they become as brilliant as diamonds under the powerful rays of the sun, and like sapphires in the evening time. In the presence of such an imposing spectacle, man feels very small. In the eye of the faithful, this is an image, though a faint one, of God. Down the Grand Canyon, the ridges of which are about 600 feet high, the train descends at high speed along the sides of the mountains, coasting as it were on the brink of precipices until we arrived at the city of Needles, which is but a few feet above the level of the sea, only to ascend again immediately about 3,000 feet. The position of this city, nearly buried between two very high mountains, coupled with the nature of the soil, all covered with lava erupted during past centuries by the neighboring volcanoes, makes Needles one of the hottest countries in the world, or at least in the United States. Really, the heat was suffocating. Not being able to endure the flaming heat, which entered through the small windows and even through the cracks or small openings in the train, I tried to shelter myself behind cushions, but in a few minutes they also became, as it were, red hot. Needles is on the confines of Arizona, and so is the gateway of California. The darkness of night soon enveloped the country, which is not very attractive. But the next day, as soon as the sun rose, the train was running amidst clusters of orange groves, hedges of eucalyptus, and the most beautiful green meadows and hedges of flowers. We were in California. With good reason, this state is often compared with Italy, and especially with our so-called Riviera, and those who say it should be compared with the land of promise flowing with milk and honey are not mistaken. California is rich in gold, silver, and every precious metal, amongst which are the famous mines of tourmaline, which provide a stone which is now being used very much. But one of its principal attractions is its incomparable climate. Here there is constant spring. The sky is even more beautiful than that of Italy. It rains only 2 months in the year. There are hot days, it is true, but in summer the heat is tempered by sea breezes. The nights are very cool. When I left California in the month of December, the hills were already green and the trees putting forth their new buds. A beneficent fog, loaded with all the smoke and miasma of the city, rises every evening, but during the night is pushed slowly towards the sea by a current of fresh air which comes from the mountains. In the morning, another kind of fog envelops the hills on which the city of Los Angeles stands. The sun takes some time to dissolve it, so that often it does not rise until 10 a.m. This fog, which emanates from the sea, is of a transparent blue, and as it is driven by the sea winds in an opposite direction to that of the evening fog, the atmosphere becomes purified and remains limpid and serene for the rest of the day. We will pause here, Catholic pilgrims. Tomorrow we will finish this letter and have my last reflection for a letter of St. Francis Cabrini. I'll see you soon, and until then, live the faith boldly and travel well.